I want to move now to the Fox and Friends. Just by the way, in case you're watching the full show, yes, today's entire show is going to be about both the Trump indictment and the response to it. And now I have a Fox and Friends response that is super interesting because, and we see this sometimes, Steve Doocy is the one host on Fox and Friends who will sort of occasionally inject facts into the conversation, and the other hosts will get noticeably, visibly uncomfortable with the fact that Steve Doocy is laying out some facts on occasion. He's still a conservative, but he's just not quite as detached from reality as some Fox News hosts are. And this moment is definitely that, where he's just trying to explain what Trump's being indicted for, what the facts are as of when they were shooting this in the morning. And the other two hosts, you can tell, just watch their facial expressions as Steve Doocy starts saying things that are more damning to Trump. They get very uncomfortable and seem to be doing little eye movements to the camera. We don't support this. Take a look.
Jonathan Turley was on our air last night, and he, keep in mind, it's a 7-count indictment. We don't know exactly what the charges are. But Jonathan Turley posed a question, will they charge him with possession of classified documents? Because if they do, that it would be hard not to judge and charge Joe Biden. But if they don't charge him on that case, the case will be about obstruction, which you face 75 years in prison. And it involves a conspiracy, which obviously a conspiracy is between at least two people. And they've had months. And we've been reading things that perhaps a number of the people close to him have flipped and have told the story about what actually happened.
So what's the difference in those charges? One's violation of the Espionage Act. That's having
we
documents
don't know exactly what any of the charges are. Okay. So it's just speculation.
So what would be obstruction of justice for having them?
And by the way, now we know that it's 37, if I'm not mistaken, felony counts.
Cover up. Okay. Keep in mind, with Watergate, there was an original crime, but then it wasn't the crime, it was the cover up, and that is what ended the presidency.
So if they charge Biden,
Nixon.
which you know they won't, but let's say they did. We've got charges for Biden, charges for Trump. They're both going to be on the campaign trail and in the courtroom.
Well, yesterday we had Chris Christie on, and he said this was completely self-inflicted because the government asked him to voluntarily turn the documents over to the National Archives for over a year and a quarter, and he didn't turn them all over. So they wound up with a search warrant. They found more, and ultimately, if you knowingly kept things, that is bad for him. Apparently, during the investigation, the federal government discovered that boxes with papers were moved out of the mail storage room after the subpoena and then moved back into the storage room the day before the feds.
You could just tell the sheer pain in the faces of, look at this, of the two other hosts. What are we doing, Steve? Steve, cut it out. The audience is going to stop watching. Yeah, I love that. Credit to Steve Doocy. Now, one of the things he brought up was and I heard this analysis as I was kind of watching this breaking, as I was about to start recording today. And another reminder, in case you're listening, watching the show, it's a clip. It got uploaded hours after I recorded it. All this information is up to date as of when I'm recording this episode. And then so much is breaking that I might be missing things. But back to this information. Steve Doocy mentioned something that kind of connects to a bit of analysis I heard in the coverage of this about kind of the narrative from Trump's world. Will be, this is an effort from outsiders, people outside of Trump's orbit trying to take Trump down, right? It's the Biden, it's the whoever, Merrick Garland, Jack Smith, they just hate Trump. But a lot of the evidence is coming from inside the house or coming from people that are very in Trump's orbit, who have been loyal to Trump this entire time until they were risking legal trouble themselves. And then they revealed a lot of this information. And so it's so much harder to make that case. And I will say, as we've talked about previously, while I think he should be held accountable for any of his violations of the law, even if they're less significant or less damaging or less a threat to national security, and we've talked about that within the context of the Manhattan DA investigation and indictment, where hold him accountable, absolutely. But I knew optically some people were going to be able to be swayed by the right-wing talking points that, oh, come on, it's not that serious, former president, da, da, da. And we've argued against those. But still, I understood how people could get swayed more by that. With this, there's any reasonable, honest person can't look at the facts of this case and think, oh, it's all a witch hunt and this is all fabricated. It's way too damning. The recordings, the documentation, the text messages, the communications, the witness testimony, all of that, photographs. It's too damning to perpetuate those talking points and be convincing to an audience that doesn't already just want to believe that Trump's the king and the beautiful, wonderful cult leader who has never done and could never do anything wrong, right? And it's pretty stunning. And so Steve Doocy there can't do this is outrageous, as he was more willing to do with the Manhattan DA investigation, an indictment. He has to go, well, I mean, it's a little different just having documents because you were a president, vice president, going, oh, shoot, here's the documents. My goodness. Instead going, oh, I'm going to keep these and show them to people and put them in completely unsecure locations and also obstruct their investigation and lie to federal authorities about it. And we're going to put it there. Oh, subpoena. Now they're coming. We're going to move it from this location to that location, make sure they can't find the documents. That's a whole different game. And that is a clear, overt effort by Trump to do things that are against the law. As a former president, you can't, and often president as well, do those things with classified material. But Trump thinks it's not a big deal, and some of his supporters feel that same way, especially the next person we're going to talk about. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are able to be uploaded to the YouTube channel, plus get the bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership, and there's a link in the description.